Hey, welcome live again with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast. I am Charles McKay, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. Every week, we bring you interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. Welcome to episode 103 on this week, what I call the Love Week, because it's Valentine's. Shout out to Black History Month as we celebrate the contributions of African Americans in our country, inventors, teachers, leaders, spiritual leaders. But also on the 14th, it's Valentine's Day. So hopefully you have a loved one to share with or maybe meet. Our guest we have for this segment is going to talk about Love is a Weapon, one of her books, and also 31 Days of Forgiveness. So we're going to have a Q&A with her. So I want to thank those who are watching us live, who will watch the replay on YouTube. Do me a favor, please like and subscribe to what we're doing. If you find value in the positive content that we're doing, definitely like, subscribe. Also, you can donate on our channel there. You see the banner going across. That helps us to have positive content like that. And please like and subscribe because that lets the algorithm know on Facebook, on YouTube, that you guys want more of this kind of content. All right. All right. So we are going to add our guest to the live stream and do a little introduction. So episode 103, our next guest, Natika Battle. She is an author of the book entitled Love is My Weapon. And also she has her ebook, 31 Days of Forgiveness. Just a little bit of background. She was born native Detroiter on the west side. Got to give her air horns to that. Shout out to the west side. uh, she let me I gotta pull this on my screen here. Just one second. I'm gonna make sure I give a proper introduction. One second here. Oh, here we go. So she was born west side of Detroit, youngest of four children. She studied psychology and community health at South New Hampshire University. She is a certified nursing assistant phlebotomist. She has certificates of women in leadership, crucial accountability, emerging leadership, diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace. She is a chaplain for UAW and a licensed minister. She was a contributing author to the Amazon #1 bestseller, Release Your Hidden Treasure, Continue to Shine. She is resilient and overcomer and says she owns her clothing line, Rose Brand Incorporated, and also was inspired to start uh, her new business company, Life Has a Purpose LLC, after serving as a caregiver to her parents during their battle with dementia and losing them 6 months apart. She has overcome the trauma and divorce and continues to make strides to show the world how to love as God has commanded. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 103 of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, Natika Battle.
Hi, thank you so much, Charles. I appreciate you for having me on your show podcast today.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to celebrate your birthday.
Thank you, thank you,
Happy
thank
birthday. Yay. Yes.
you.
You decided to come on the podcast on your birthday. I feel honored that you made time to do that.
Thank you. I
I hope
figured
you I hope you celebrate. Did you celebrate yesterday? Or maybe you was watching Usher, well, like just like everybody else yesterday.
I celebrated all weekend, so I figured I'd chill out on Monday.
Okay, all right, good. So for our guests, for those who are watching who may not know you, someone was to ask, who was Natika Battle? What would you tell them?
Who is Natika Battle? Natika Battle is an entrepreneur. I work a regular full-time job. I'm a mom. I'm an encourager, motivator, a good friend, and a child of God.
All right. Working mom, a child of God, a motivator. All right. Um, So we're here to talk about your books. I kind of read it talked a little bit about it in our introduction to the podcast. What inspired you to write and to become an author?
So I've always enjoyed writing and reading since I was a child. And so at a very, I guess, young age, I went through a lot of things that maybe some people have been through and they choose not to share it. But I share a space with a lot of women, and I have female friends, just people in general. I'm a people person. I want everybody to love and know that they are loved. That's always been my goal. However, I learned from my own trauma and my own mistakes that when you don't have love and you don't surround yourself with love, that sometimes you get a little distorted, you lose yourself. And I find that a lot of people are so disconnected from love because of trauma that has happened to them. And so I was just messing around one day and just started typing and was like, hey, he gave me a title and I would write piece by piece. And I was like, no, I can't do that, because sometimes when writing a book, depending on what you write it on, you have to go back to those areas that you wish you want to forget or you really don't want to deal with. So I had to dig deep within myself and remember that the word of God, that my life is not mine. So what happens to me is always for somebody else. So I
Okay.
just had to put on my big girl pants and say, go for it.
Hey, that's great. That's great that you lived life and had an experience and was prompted to share your experience on pen and paper or your computer and put it out there. I appreciate that. Um, so tell us more. What do you want to start with? You want to start with "Love Is Your Weapon," um, or your 31 Days to Forgiveness? Now that's the ebook, right? I wanted to make sure I was
No, the 31 Days of Fasting is just a devotional.
okay.
You can get it on ebook, but it's
Okay.
also
Okay.
a hard copy too.
Hard copy. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's start with "Love Is My Weapon." You talked a little bit about that. Um, Explain to our audience what's that book about and who is it for?
This book right here is my baby. It's just the heart and soul of it. So, as I said, I'm a child of God. I deeply born and raised, rooted in the church, love God, just everything about God. Like there's nothing that would turn me away from him. So in this book, I talk about the different forms of love and how God loves. And it's 6 chapters. So in my first chapter, I talk about the love of God, and then in my second chapter, I talk about being born in love. So I always believe that there's two types of people. There are those that are born in love and those that are born in survival mode. And
Okay.
so those that are born in survival mode may not know exactly how to love, but the catch 22 about it is that we were all hardwired to love.
Okay.
It's just that most people get sidetracked or they're not loved properly and they get confused on what love is and how love should be because they had to grow up being sacrificial or selfish or whatever the case may be. And then the third chapter I talk about self-love. Self-love is really a big one too, because you can't love anybody else if you don't love yourself first. And
Okay.
so self-love, people don't understand that self-love, when you don't love yourself, it shows up in other areas of your life sometime, whether it's work, how you treat your relationships with your significant other, with your co-workers, in the workplace, at home. It shows up when you don't have that self-love or you lose that self-love or you've never had it. And the thing about love is that those that grew up in survival mode, they
Yes.
like the feeling of love, but they don't want to make the sacrifices that it takes to keep that love, but they know they like the feeling.
Right.
And that's why a lot of times in relationships you'll see people who is like obsessed crazy with this person, but yet they fail to do the right thing because they've always had to grow up in survival mode. So that's part of the one of the things I talk about in a chapter. And then I talk about in chapter 4 is loving the unlovable, which a lot of people struggle with as well too, because as sometimes we have attitudes, or some people are just mean, nasty, and miserable for no reason. And so a lot of times we don't want to deal with people like that. But those are the people that need to love the most. And
Yeah.
um so I'm just going through the chapter. So the chapter 5 is how I healed, and then I talk about how to heal, and everything that I do is scripture based. I have
Okay.
word to back it up to say this is why we should do this.
Mm.
Um, and so that's the basis of where love is my weapon is from, and it all boils down to, at the end of the day, believing and trusting in God, and know that God is the lover of everything and of all things, and that He is the only one that can sustain you, fill you up, and allow you to feel love and to be loved no matter what you do in life. He loves you regardless. And once you have that love inside of you, there's nothing you can't do, there's nothing nobody can say to you. It's like you have all power when you have the love of God on your side and you understand that.
Yes, yes. Wow, wow. Powerful messages, powerful chapters. I wanted to ask you, how can a person know the difference between being born in kind of a survival mode or being born in love? What do you say to that?
So survival mode would be when you're not willing to be vulnerable,
Okay.
when you're always guarded, when you're and that can be a trauma response too. But born
Okay.
in survival, you're normally like, you're kind of standoffish, you like people, but you're quick to really disconnect from people, or don't really connect with people
Yeah.
because of things that has happened in your life, or because you were always born to, this, you just born straightforward. You weren't really given, for lack of better words, a lot of hugs, a lot of attention as a child, the things that children need to develop and grow, because as a kid you're not taught how to deal with your emotions. So we learn from our parents or from our peers, and some people learn that just turn your emotions off and just deal with it, suck it up, and move on and move forward. But what happens is you suppress all your feelings and your emotions, and now you got this grown adult or midlife adult who doesn't know how to communicate effectively or love people, because something that should have been taught and trained, you just throw dirt over it because you're used to saying, okay, I'm not dealing with this. And usually what happens when you have a root of something and you throw dirt over it, the only thing it does is just bury it, and then eventually it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow. So those that try to love you, it's very hard because you were taught to grow up in survival mode and to turn off your emotions and not be vulnerable.
Wow. So it's more so people who haven't grown up in a safe, loving environment uh, kind of have a challenge of being vulnerable, which could be a response to traumatic events or just their environment.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, what's the way? What's the path to seek healing in that area?
So what I also discovered is that a lot of some people don't want to be healed, because when
Wow.
you talk about healing yourself, that means that, so in my book I have this chat, part of my chapter is called 21 layers. And
Okay.
so in order to heal, 21 layers is like an onion, which is
Mhm.
21 onions in the world. And if you've ever peeled the onion and you start peeling off the layers, when you get to the end of that onion, that's when your eyes start to water and you start to cry. So
Right.
that's just like your life. When you've had so many things happen to you, and in the African American community, for the most part, we're taught to just suck it up, deal with it. We're not taught to go see a psychologist or talk it out, or certain things we weren't trained to do. So we still have that mentality. And so with that, if we don't peel that onion, we're stuck. We're in a repeated cycle. We're in failed relationships, jobs, or whatever it may be. Everybody don't want to heal because they don't want to revisit the pain. It's too painful for them. I've heard so many women and men say that.
Yes. Yes. Well, isn't it important? You talked about in your chapters to learn how to love yourself. Isn't healing the pathway of learning how to love yourself?
It is a pathway, but some people think that they love themselves, but in actuality, a lot of people get into, let's say, domestic violence relationships,
Or toxic, as you mentioned. Some people may
toxic relationship. Do you really love yourself? Because you've created this wall to make yourself to believe that toxic relationship is love, because
Mhm.
that's all you know. And so the mind is very fragile. Like I read Joyce Meyer's book, and then she wrote a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. And that's where it all starts at. We imprison ourselves because we allow people to get in our head and tell us that this is okay and you're
Yes.
this and you're that. And after so long, again, it's that root. If you keep covering up and don't deal with it, it's going to grow. And when it grows, sometimes you may be too far gone, or you just feel like I can't do it. You give up, cause depression, anxiety. It causes not just mental health, but also physical strain for you as well. But this book is so deep, and I can go into so many layers of how we um we deprive ourselves when we don't have self-love. We cheat
Yeah.
ourselves.
Wow. Wow. Man, these are some powerful chapters in your book. What are you looking to or seeking to accomplish with this work?
So with this work, I want people to know that healing is very important. Healing from past trauma or experience creates a freedom. It creates you to be exactly who God created you to be. We're all created. God promised us the land of milk and honey. All we have to do is release it and allow Him to work in us, to free us, and to lay all of our burdens down on Him, to understand, to know that He is love. We were born in love. He loves you no matter what you do, no matter, like he's already figured it out that you were going to do some things that you were going to do. But we allow people to get into our head and play mental games with us, or we allow what happened to us dictate and determine our future and distract us when the main thing to push you through is love. You know, I always say love is looking over vexed emotions. And
Mhm.
so we have to look past people flaws. We have to look past everything because God look past our flaws every day.
Yeah.
And we cheat our family, we cheat our friends, we cheat our kids when we don't love ourselves, because
Yes.
how
Yeah.
can we raise somebody and be a good friend to somebody if we don't love ourselves?
Right. 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 Right.
So
That's the bar. That's the bar right there.
yeah.
Yeah. How can we truly love someone when we don't love ourselves? And we got to get healing. Man, this is awesome work. Um, who would you say is the ideal person for this work, this book?
Oh my God. I would say women.
Okay.
However, I've had a couple of men read my books,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh my God, you put some things into perspective for me." I look at things a lot different. Like I've had a lot of people that's given me great reviews, but I was just astonished and astounded by the men that have come to me and said, "I started reading your book on my break and I couldn't stop and I read the whole thing."
Mhm.
And I discovered some things in myself that I didn't even realize that were triggers for me, or that I
Yeah.
had dealt with that interfered in my relationships. And oh my God, I have work to do. So I like the vulnerability that it created for the
Yeah.
men and the women that have written my book.
Wow.
Read my book. I'm sorry.
Wow. That's awesome. That not only you've written kind of with the intention of helping women to heal and experience self love and self care and grow in their becoming the best version of themselves, but it also has impacted men. What
Mhm.
Where can people get this book?
So
How
you can
What's
get
the best way?
you can get the book at Amazon.com, or well, my website is under construction right now. But
Oh, okay.
Amazon, yep, Amazon.com, or you can email me and we can connect if you're in the Metro Detroit area, and we can connect and I can get you the book. Yeah, those are some of the ways. That's my email, that's the website, and um, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Now talk about your second book. Well, that's more of a devotional.
Right.
Okay,
It's
okay.
more of a
What
devotional, and they kind of go hand in hand.
they go hand in hand. Okay.
Mhm. So, with the 31 days of forgiveness is again scripture based, and one of the things that I wanted to create is talking about one of the things about loving yourselves is forgiveness, right?
Yes.
And so I did that to help people to understand, because it says it takes 21 days to break a bad habit. So I took it a little further and did 31 days. And there's a journal, there's a part in there where you can journal after you read each day, to help you understand where you are on your journey. And so forgiveness starts again, it always starts with self. We always want to look at some people, want to look at other people and blame other people, but it all begins with you. It begins on being self aware, and a lot of people are not self aware. So my devotional, it talks about grace, mercy, and love, which are all some of the things that are very essential in forgiving someone. But you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for losing a job. You have to forgive yourself for the marriage that didn't work. You have to forgive yourself for the parties that you went to or the things that you drank and smoked. It all
Yeah.
starts with you. And so the reason why I did that devotional is because I wanted people to understand that you are the person who is in charge of your life, not no one else. We give people power when we
Yeah.
allow their words to taint us and to
Yes.
distract us. So forgiveness of self, of any decision that you've made that you felt was bad, or any relationship or anything that you did, it all starts with forgiving yourself.
Wow, that's deep. I think even in my case, some of past things that I've done that I'm not in my proudest moments, decisions I made when I was in my best version of myself, where I intentionally deceived, let people down, hurt people, and I've learned in life one of the hardest persons to forgive is yourself.
Yeah.
And it's also a daily thing because you can think like, oh yeah, I got over it, but something can happen. Somebody can bring something up and you get triggered and you have those same emotions of shame, embarrassment, disappointment, anger, surfacing back up. And you have to learn to forgive yourself again.
Yep.
Now I'm curious. Um, your writings, is that from personal things you dealt with, people you've encountered? What would you say is the bulk of how you came to write on these important subjects?
All personal experiences.
Okay, personal experience. So you had
Yeah.
to learn to forgive yourself.
Yeah, and that is that because I'm my own worst critic. Like I am
Yes, yes.
horrible. Like I would beat myself, and I think that's why it took me so long um to come forth with this, because I had to shed a lot of tears in writing this. I had to, some
Mhm.
areas I had to go in that I didn't want to revisit ever again, because again, that embarrassment, that shame, that guilt, and again, I'm a child of God, so I'm like, oh God, please help me with this. And he said that this life is not mine, it's his. So
Mhm.
nobody can make you feel any kind of way, because we all sin and fall short of the glory. So in that, I had to go deep and understand that, hey, I made a mistake. I let someone talk to someone who I let get past hello, that shouldn't have got past hello.
Right,
Bad decisions in every area of my life, even with dealing with taking care of my parents. That was the grieving process for me
right, right.
was very painful and traumatic. And nobody gets married to get divorced. The divorce, the
Right.
sibling rivalry, the family rivalry, the girlfriend,
Yeah.
a bunch, just life. When life
Yeah.
is like, um, and thinking how you could have handled things different but maybe didn't, or every now and then someone likes to bring up your past and try to hold you guilty, and I always tell people, God already dropped the charge. You can't make me feel sorry or bad for something that God has already forgiven me for.
Yes. 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 Wow, man, you have this work. I celebrate what you're doing. It's important work. Thank you for just being vulnerable in your own life and putting this into words where people can be healed. Um, how can people? We talked about how they can get the book, email. What if someone wants you to come and speak and share your life with them, whether it's a church setting or any type of setting? What's the best way they can reach you?
You can email me, or you can via email, or you can also hit me up on I'm Rosebrand Inc. on Instagram, on Facebook, any type of personal platform. You can reach me at 313-431-9068. You can text me, you can send me a message. I'm always available. Well, not always available, but I'm always willing to help and come speak to those that need to be empowered and uplifted because it's not an easy task. And this journey that we're on was never meant to be walked alone. And I don't think that people understand that we need each other as much as we think we don't. We really do. Because my story can bless you, and you don't know how you can bless somebody else. So everyone has a journey and a story. We just have to be vulnerable enough to share it because you don't know how much you're helping someone to overcome the things that
Right.
life at them.
Right. 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 Um, you have any announcements, any upcoming events or things that our audience should know about?
I'm working on my technically fourth book.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you. I'm also working on my YouTube channel, so I'm excited
Nice.
about that as well. So just a lot of projects this year. I want to be intentional in helping people heal and helping people understand and love themselves, bold and proud of who they are and what they've been through. Because every day that God gives you a chance to open your eyes, that means that He still loves you, and you can get up and put whatever happened yesterday, let that be in yesterday, move forward in today, and know that you are blessed, loved, saved, and forgiven for anything that you've said and done.
Wow. Wow. Thanks. Wow. Well, I really appreciate you spending your time to talk about your work and your future endeavors. And congratulations on your upcoming book. I wish you well, a lot of success.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, episode 103, Natika Battle. He's an author, speaker, licensed minister, and self love, self care advocate. Be sure to check out her works. Get her books, go to her web. I know the website is under construction, so definitely email her, reach out to her. I suggest
Amazon
her being a
got
presenter, talking about these topics on loving yourself and experiencing forgiveness.
yes.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes. All right.
All right. Have a great night.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up episode 103 with our time Q&A with Natika Battle. Again, encourage you to get her books. Follow her on social media. She's going to be launching her YouTube channel. Definitely need support these kind of works because a lot of mess going on, social content. You know, I ain't trying to hate, but you know, we need some positive things in our life to help us become better versions of ourselves. So we'll see you next week. We have a guest next Monday. Upcoming Monday. She's going to talk about her book. Is Marriage for Me? She's going to talk about her book entitled "I Want My Own Husband." So interesting topic. See you guys next Monday.